Hi there. Thanks so much for joining us for today's webinar. My name is Shomik Ghosh. I'm Senior Assistant Editor with Economic Times CISO, and I'm glad to be a host and moderator for this afternoon session. Well, today, as you know, we are going to be talking about an extremely interesting topic, and that's about AI adoption. Now, as you've seen, as AI adoption is increasing, what's growing proportionally is the risk. Now, as cloud, API, and remote work expand the attack surface, threat actors are also exploring how to grow their attacks in a more complex manner, how to go about it faster, and how do you do it faster than the security teams can respond to. Now, fragmented tools and visibility gaps are slowing down the defenses. And the answer, dear friends, lies in simplifying security through a unified, intelligent platform that can deliver end-to-end visibility, AI-driven protection, and built-in compliance. Now, in this webinar, let me welcome our partners from Cloudflare. First up, we've got Siddhant Sharma. Siddhant, a very good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Thanks, Shomik. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to an interactive session.
Sure. Now, Siddhant here is the Senior Cloudflare One Specialist Solution Engineer. We've also got Tilak. Hi, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Shomik. Thanks for welcoming.
All right. Now, folks, we want this session to be extremely engaging. We want it to be extremely interactive. Now, Cloudflare has a lot of visibility from the vantage point that they come with. So ensure that you keep your questions with us. Our speakers here would be more than happy to address them. Share your questions in the Q&A box. We'll also be interacting with you through some polls to do part in that as well. It's a fun round. All right, with that, I'm going to hand it over to Tilak. Tilak, all yours.
Okay. Good afternoon, team. My name is Tilak, and I work as a solutions engineer from Cloudflare. And today I'm going to talk about something pretty fundamental to security space, like how the definition of security perimeter has completely changed with the recent advent of agentic AI systems, with the proliferation of the bot management systems as well, right? And we are not just defending networks from an application point of view at Cloudflare. We are giving a holistic security approach, both which works at the intersections of APIs, bots, and increasingly the agentic AI systems. What we see today, every day in, day out, we hear that the college graduates are building the AI agentic applications, right? And each of these applications built for a malicious reason can hamper your application security posture today. So over the next 20 minutes of my session today, I'm going to walk you through what has changed, what are the risks that is impacting, and how we are shifting the security space at Cloudflare for you. Right now, today morning, if you have opened up the news today, you would have seen something like, there was a new detail that, a cybersecurity attack on the western side that totally crippled up the Bay City area. And at the same time, if you're also, keeping yourself updated on the agentic AI system as well, it shows a recent large-scale incident that happened with an international agency where the Claude bot deliberately leaked out certain API credentials and API keys as well. So, the major thing about these kind of traditional breaches is that no firewall was hacked, but the shadow APIs which got exposed and certain sensitive data that was flowing in and out of the trusted system that got exploited. And last but not the least, it's the attacker choosing the easiest method available where we are not aware of the API keys or the API shadow APIs available, instead of directly attacking the agentic systems available. So this is where it comes to the injection of the thing that application security surface. Now let's talk about the modern attack surface. Today, when any application that is there on the internet, right, people think security is a secondary component, but you need to think that security is something that can literally make or break your business. Your application performance, your reputation, and your user experience definitely depends on security today. And the reason is attacks are everywhere, not just in form of API attacks, but credential stuffing, data exfiltration, and account takeovers, bot attacks. You can think of DDoS attacks. Any attack is there, out in the internet to cripple your business today. And this is where Cloudflare comes as a solution to you. And the platform that we have built today is known as the globally distributed platform, and it is a security-first programmable reversible proxy. So not from an IT admin standpoint, it also gives the leverage to your developers while developing the application to inbuild security during the lifecycle of the application development as well. Today, as of now, we are present on 330 plus countries, which is ever increasing in the number of POPs. 330 cities, that is close to 125 countries right now. And any code, the serverless code that is running on Cloudflare executes within less than 50 milliseconds. We also have the GPUs. Let's say you want to inference any sort of AI application instead of directly going to the vendor. You can also have those AI traffic inference through Cloudflare. We run the GPUs for you. You do not need to invest from the architecture. And at the same time, not just from a performance perspective, we consider security as paramount. And this is the primary focus of Cloudflare today when delivering any sort of applications for your end users or for your internal users. Here we see, based on the architecture, what we have today, we see close to 20% of global internet traffic flowing through Cloudflare, whether it is free customers or enterprise customers or any users, just for the sake of using DNS, because we are the fastest providers of DNS 1.1.1.1. Every day, close to more than 3 trillion DNS requests we produce, we serve. And if I take it up to the application layer, it is close to 60 million HTTP requests, right? When I say 60 million HTTP requests, it also means that within those requests, we see malicious traffic, we see non-malicious traffic as well. And from a malicious perspective, we see close to 15 billion leaked credentials. How does it benefit you today? Everybody is using AI ML algorithms for the detection, right? We use this data to feed our algorithms and make sure that the false positives are reduced and you get a better security because of the amount of traffic the algorithms are trained on, right? If I move a step ahead, this is something, if you forget the orange background, of this particular slide, you can look something data localization, DNS protection, DOS protection, bot management. If you just forget the orange background for a moment, you can think it of as a point solution. This is what traditional network security or traditional security architecture of a company looks like. Point solutions, everybody talking to each other, but no seamlessness, no resiliency on this part. This is where Cloudflare breaks this particular paradigm over here. We give you a platform which is holistic in nature, and every traffic that passes through gets through one point of entry and one point of exit, making sure that all the solutions or the protections in terms of DDoS, bot management, WAF or API shield or protection from your API queries are taken through by one particular platform. How does it benefit you? You get one control plane, one API to control the entire configuration, one user interface, instead of having siloed interface for bot management, what traditional security vendors do right today. And it is pretty difficult to manage it. You have one team for a hardware appliance running for a DDoS protection. You have another team for your WAF protection, right? This is something that we are breaking with Cloudflare. You get one user interface, and one user interface also means that you can correlate the security events without the need of a SIEM or API solution, external API solutions today. Less complexity, faster response, better consistency is what you get with Cloudflare today. Yeah. If I take a step ahead on this, in the world of connected applications, no more we are talking about a traditional architecture, client server architectures. Applications need to connect. Today, you want to make a payment on PhonePe or Google Pay or any other UPI application, you do not log into your internet banking. Rather, the UPI application does an API call to the banking infrastructure. Similarly, for purchasing any through the cart or going for a hospital appointment, everything has an API call within. Right now, if I say, APIs are the paramount of the software development lifecycle. Today, you have a software engineer who goes through an API, builds an API, leaves the company. That creates a shadow API because time or lemless, your admin might not be aware of what APIs are there in the infrastructure, and these become a point of attack. Where Cloudflare comes into play is that it gives you a visibility around what kind of APIs are there, which APIs are active, which APIs are serving traffic. And most organizations, since they do not know about these APIs, after automatically discovering those APIs and zombie APIs, they're able to block it. The second part is the kind of traffic flowing through those APIs, like whether it is a sensitive data flowing through, PII data flowing through, or a credit card data flowing through. This also can be prevented with the API security solution, which again forms a larger part of the attack surface if they are exposed. Third is the availability. You do not have a CDN services background, backend resilient platform. One failure to your backend system, the entire API or the entire application is down. think of a particular payment gateway going down, right? Or your banking infrastructure going down. So this cripples your entire business as well. So from a protection perspective, you can see that we do the discovery management, we do a posture management, understanding what kind of structure, what kind of workflow the API falls through, give you a visibility and give you a better control, compared to any traditional architecture. Because if I have to take my conversation back, we control, or rather we see 20% of the internet traffic. This makes the algorithms more matured in giving you a visibility around of the API and the sequential forms of those APIs, and what request, whether a malicious API is coming in, request is being done, or a non-malicious request is being done. Last but not the least, I have a poll question. Let's wait 30 seconds for it. You can see, there are different forms of API attacks that OWASP categorizes, right? The top 10 from BOLA to broken authentication. And if you're using a point solution today, just API security will not help you. The reason being, specifically, if you look something like server-side request forgery, this requires a WAF managed rule set that Cloudflare has or any other vendor will have. Just going for a point solution is not going to cater to your entire API lifecycle. We have security configuration, misconfiguration detection. We are pioneers on the broken object BOLA detections, which where there is a manipulation of the attacker ID or the user ID. And of course, we walk through how we can integrate different solutions of Cloudflare, including bot management and WAF, to come to a holistic protection of the API infrastructure that you have. Shomik, can we have the poll question here? So this is a very small poll question. If you can refer to this particular slide, I'm sure that you'll be answering it correctly. Let's see how it goes.
Team, can we have the first poll on our screens, please? In the context of over 10 for APIs, which risk specifically refers to an attacker accessing or modifying data when manipulating an ID or object in an API request? But yeah, Tilak, I mean, the points that you brought up so far, in the initial part of your presentation, very relevant. I can recall a recent industry report that showed about a 3,000% spike in API cyber attacks in a single quarter, and that was by Indusphase. So that's an Indian cybersecurity firm. So that gives you a very India-specific scenario. So yep, it's on top of CISO's mind point.
And I think the answer to this question is also lies with that most of the organizations that facing these this particular attack, to how to prevent this kind of particular attack. I'll just wait for the the answers to come in. Let's see how it goes.
All right, fairly straightforward. Team, can we close the poll and have a look at the right answer?
Yeah, so it's the BOLA detection that that majorly companies try to prevent. And as I said, that this is the kind of attack where the manipulation of the attacker ID or the request ID is done. So let's see. Yeah. Okay. The hot topic for this particular year, 2025 and 2026, like the agentic AI we started with. Now, agentic AI is not a rocket science. You can think of your application just making an API call to the backend LLM architecture. So the heart of agentic AI is just API calls, what we spoke about at the previous slide, the BOLA detection, everything. It's all about, that's what the agentic AI falls into. But if we look into a particular workflow of an agentic AI, it's pretty simple. The user sends a request, the AI calls the external APIs, gathers the data, sends it to an LLM for processing, and the LLM returns a response. Now, each flow of communication that you can see in the slide is a part where an attack can be crafted and sent for the next hop. So in the traditional terms of networking or software architecture, where we say is that where there is a hop-to-hop communication, every hop-to-hop communication is a gateway for an attack to happen. Today, if you're doing an application with the agentic AI, the major problems include the discovery of those endpoints. Again, just like APIs, you have a developer who has exposed certain APIs you're not aware of. There might be certain endpoints within your application which you're not aware of. It can be the admin gateway, or where you can change the K value or the P values of the parameters. And the second thing is the analytics and the visibility of those LLM applications. The third is the protect and mitigate. Instead of thinking around mitigating the LLM, it's more about how we can protect and make sure that the legitimate request reaches the LLM server through the application and we get a legitimate response. Here on the left-hand side, we can see that there is a credit card transaction. This is just one sort of example, a credit card transaction or a credit card number being queried to the LLM. But here, since firewall, this is where Cloudflare's flagship solution, that is firewall for AI, comes into play, where it gives you the visibility around what kind of request gets into your LLM. I might be able to, extract what kind of architecture the LLM is, but when we sit, for enforce the guardrails on the firewall for AI, these kind of attacks or these kind of manipulations of the backend model can be prevented here. And of course, last but not the least, you also get a analytics around which kind of requests were blocked, how many requests were throttled, and since this is pretty much LLM agnostic, you can use it with your internal LLM models as well. So I need to keep questions coming in. If there is any questions, just post it on the chat window. I might be able to answer it throughout the prognosis of this particular presentation or at the end as well, team. Okay.
Sure, Dilek.
Yeah. Nextly, so we have spoken about the API and a layer beyond API, that is the agentic AI. Now, if we look beyond agentic AI, agentic AI, as I started with, can be used for good purpose, can be used for malicious purpose as well. Before getting into the malicious purpose of agentic AI, let's look into the bot's perspective. Now, everywhere there is a bot. You try to purchase something, an ad comes up. And when you click on that ad, it might take you to a different page. So that is a form of a bot. We have the ACO bots, we have the educational bots. And not just for the good intent, bots can be pervasive in terms of how they behave when they see a particular user. On the right hand side, you can see there was an event done by Taylor Swift, but due to bot activity, the ticketing platform had to be shut down because there were so many requests getting bombarded on the ticketing platform. And this is not just example. In India, if you look at similar kind of live sale events happening, there are examples where such kind of events have come up. So from content scrapping, like taking up the prices of your commodities that you sell on your website, to account takeovers, to content spam, to credential card stuffing, bots have become pretty pervasive, and detection of the bots have become challenged because they have become pretty sophisticated. Starting from basic bots, what was there 10 years back, they have come to, bots have been used in terms of to mimic human behavior, to change the request header, the IP, the autonomous systems numbers they have coming, right? And beyond this, like from 2025 onwards to 2026, right now we are seeing different kind of bots. Like we have the Amazon bot, Apple bot. Not necessarily they provide you business, but they can also take your traffic away. Today, you go to any particular website, search in a query, you get it from Gemini instead of going to that particular website. So this is more about taking your actual user traffic to the bot, right? So this all can be prevented, and this is where the product architecture of bot management of Cloudflare comes into play. We take into multiple considerations. Of course, the ML algorithms, since it is the advent of AI, where we train the algorithms to understand whether the request is coming from an actual user or a malicious user. We do JavaScript detection, that is within the page, what kind of content the user is trying to access, what kind of third-party JavaScript the page is calling into. And last but not the least, the anomaly detection. Someone just trying to go into a particular career section of the page, which is not normally visited from a different IP, right? So that can also be categorized. So based on these kind of detections, we assign a particular score to the request, which falls between 1 to 100, and the scoring mechanisms, which you have, of course, control over beyond a certain limit. And based on the scoring mechanism, we allow a particular user to be blocked at the edge before the request goes to your backend server, or how it can be handled, whether it can be forced to challenge with a captcha or a Cloudflare turnstile, what you see. And I think this particular thing, the turnstile, the verifying part, you would have seen a lot of websites. When you go to a particular website, you'll see a small logo that keeps on spinning. What happens in the backend is that this particular JavaScript or this particular turnstile solution of Cloudflare verifies whether you are an actual human. Instead of prompting you for a captcha, it makes it pretty user seamless and does not degrade the user experience from that perspective, right? And yep, and of course you need a visibility. So I keep on working with customers today where I see that out of, let's say, they're serving 20 billion customer requests, 30 to 40% is bot. Now think about 4 billion requests reaching your AWS cluster or GCP cluster, the amount of money you'll be charged for it, right? So this is where Cloudflare comes handy, where it reduces your total cost of ownership, right? These kind of attacks are blocked at the edge, and they do not penetrate into your server, where you are again charged for the ingress or the egress fees. Before I go to the next slide, this is where the entire portfolio of security comes into play. And this entire portfolio is based on Cloudflare WAF. Any rule you want to configure for bot management, agentic AI, or API security, you need to do it at the Cloudflare WAF. So just like any other WAF vendor, we also help you in managing your application layer attacks, specifically at the layer 7. We do layer 7 DOS prevention by the architecture of Cloudflare. Since we are present on close to 330 plus POPs, the architecture itself is anycast, where any sort of DDoS attacks that can go up to, we have prevented close to around 12 to 15 TBPS of DDoS attacks. By architecture itself, the platform is able to absorb the DDoS attacks. And we have the machine learning algorithm, just like the bot management, where a malicious request can be filtered. And the best part is the core rule set. You do not need to manually create any sort of CVE rules that is required that pertains to layer OWASP, layer 7 rule set pertaining to OWASP rule set. It's just a single checkbox. Turn it on, forget about the protection from day one itself. From an onboarding perspective, we just take 1 day to onboard this particular WAF infrastructure. Next, we take it a level higher for more granular control. That is the managed rule set. Just like your security team or the SOC team, Cloudflare has another SOC team within itself. That is known as CloudForce One, who manage this particular rule set. They monitor the entire dark web, entire internet for zero-day exploits happening. Let's say you're sleeping, soundly at your night, at your home at night, and by 2 a.m. you get a zero-day exploit, which you get to aware only at 10 a.m. the next day. So the lag of 8 hours can be a window where an attacker can exploit the zero-day vulnerability in your application, right? So this is where, if this particular rule set is turned on, from day one itself or from the 0 hour itself, your application is protected from a zero-day vulnerability that are discovered in the internet. And last but not the least, we also give you controls around, what kind of rule set you can configure, like the custom rule set, whether it is based on an IP address to an IP address, based on the request header, based on the autonomous system country, or based on the autonomous number. And if I have to speak on theoretical terms, or the practical terms, we do not have a limit on the number of rules that you can create. I have seen customers creating around 10,000 to 15,000 rule set. So this solution from a perspective is pretty huge. Unlike traditional hardware firewalls, right? You create 1,000 rules, 10,000, 2,000 rules, the performance of the hardware slows down. You do not have to worry about in a SaaS-based architecture like Cloudflare. The architecture is pretty huge to contain any number of rule sets that you can cater to, that you can think about. So this is more of a summary about what we do. From a machine learning perspective, we do the zero-day detection. The Cloudflare One team monitors it. From a holistic WAF performance point of view, it's all about configure and forget. You do not need a deep technical experience on how the rule sets can be managed, and at the same time, it also prevents you from credentials that are exposed and how these credentials can be used in the application with the credential check feature. Let's say a particular credentials of Shomik is found in a dark web and Shomik tries to log into your application. We do the credential check whether Shomik's credential is exposed on the dark web or not. And the moment we find that, we also prompt the user to change those credentials. And last but not the least, any sort of API keys getting exfiltrated from your application or from your agentic AI responses or from your application backend applications, those can also be filtered out at the WAF level. So this is where the entire composable architecture of Cloudflare comes into play. We just not think about CDN. When I speak to customers, majorly, what is Cloudflare? They say it's a CDN, but basically we are into the business of catering users to applications in a secured manner. Think of our platform as a holistic security for any application, any port, any device you're trying to access to. And so I'll take in some questions. And we are also participating at RSEC conference that is happening at San Francisco right now. If your extended team members are present, they can walk into the booth number 5778, and we have our experts over there as well for any sort of conversations. And if you want to get in touch with us as well, you can drop in an email ID for a detailed product demo. With the 20-30 minutes of slot, it's difficult to cover everything. I'll take in more questions if you have for a minute before I pass it on to Siddharth.
Thank you much for that, Tilak. I think that was a great presentation. And to answer your questions, Sean, are definitely out there. I keep getting messages from Google to change my password. All right, now let's call upon Siddharth Sharma, the Senior Cloudflare One Specialist. Siddharth, over to you.
Thanks, Tilak. That was really good. Before I start my session, let's start with this small poll question, please.
Siddharth, you want to share a screen? Shall I stop it?
Yes, please stop this. I'll share.
Yeah.
All right, team. As Siddharth is bringing up his deck on the system, on our screens, can we have the poll, please?
It will be poll number 3.
We'll go with poll 3 right now. All right. So what best describes your organization's current state when it comes to VPN, remote access, or proxy technologies? So choose whatever applies to you, and Siddharth is going to be taking it from there. And I don't see too many coming in, but then we would want you guys to flood us with more questions. I know it's a very pertinent topic. We're talking about AIs, we're talking about bot security, and also what it means for securing AI workloads. So do share your questions. We've got Siddharth here who would be more than happy to answer your questions. Okay, let's give this another 5 seconds before we poll and look at what the audience reaction is. All right, team. Can we close the poll? Have a look at the results, please. Well, 60% of them are saying they have adopted cloud-based trust network access or SSE solutions, and they've been deployed successfully. And the least of them, only 7% are saying they're exploring alternatives due to high cost and user experience changes that is sometimes associated with ZTNA and SWG solutions. Siddharth, what do you expected for Indian enterprises?
Yeah, that's along the expected lines. So yeah, thanks everyone for your response. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Can we close the poll? Siddharth, go ahead, please.
Yeah. So we can proceed now, I believe, right? Poll is closed, right?
Yes, go ahead.
My screen is visible. Just a quick check. Okay, so Tilak covered the solutions we operate, the areas we operate in from an outside-in perspective, how to secure your public-facing web applications from bot and API, and how to do that in this so dynamic AI fueled landscape, right? What I will be covering today is on the Zero Trust and SASE side. So what we'll be looking into is actual use cases that are live in customer environments, how they have adopted, and what kind of adoption strategies can you be used. So this is going to be very use case focused. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, and we'll either address them on the spot or once we're done with the presentation. Okay. So the most easy to adopt and the most popular, so to speak, use case. Hold on. My screen is still visible, right, Shomik? Just checking.
Yep, it is.
Okay. So the most easy to adopt,
We're good. Right.
easy to start with, and the most popular use case is organizations are looking to simplify their remote access and VPN deployments because this presents a risk. This is a threat that's exposed to the internet, your remote access frameworks, your legacy VPN frameworks. And what they achieve with Cloudflare clientless solutions is that they can completely get rid of these legacy solutions once and for all, right? And they can secure access to web and SaaS application. They can also provision access to browser-based infra access and browser isolation for data exfiltration protection without requiring any agent or a client or anything like that. So it's very simple to adopt, simple to deploy, and you can literally get up and running in just a week or maybe 2, and then slowly start getting rid of the legacy infra. Okay. Now, there are cases where a client-less solution may not be suitable, so you may still need to go with the client. In that case, we do have that option. So you could adopt our full stack suite of SSE solutions. So essentially, you could use our client, and no matter where the user are, where your users are, right? You don't need MPLS or expensive SD-WANs or IPsec VPN complexity to maintain. What you would be doing is you'll end up with a solution where your end users are secured with an agent-based solution. All traffic is being tunneled to the cloud, and all the inspection layer, the complete inspection layer is present in the cloud. So you could replace your VPNs, proxies, or third-party access solutions completely with just a single stack. And the most key here being your publicly exposed VPN endpoints and the publicly exposed VPN endpoints and remote access endpoint no need to be publicly exposed anymore. You can have them completely private and only protect the entire thing with the Cloudflare fronting everything for your users. Okay. Again, third use case, most popular, DNS. So DNS in most environments or most enterprise solutions that we see or environments we see, it's completely unmonitored. Most people doesn't even know what's going on in their DNS infra, right? So Cloudflare provides something called gateway DNS. So you could forward all your DNS traffic to Cloudflare, right? It could be through DNS forwarding, DNS over HTTPS, and we could become your single point of enforcement for all DNS traffic that's going out, right? We've seen companies rely on public free DNSs like 8.8.8.8 or ISP DNS, which are neither reliable nor secure. Instead, you can replace that stack with a single point of enforcement where all your DNS traffic is filtered against our threat intel. So meaning we'll be looking into, for example, if it's a DNS tunneling, if it's a malware domain, if this domain was registered recently, was it involved in a CNC activity, and you get all that intelligence in a single stack, and you can protect the complete DNS traffic in one single solution. This is one of the very common use cases, SaaS lockdown. A lot of the customers I see have adopted SaaS application. You call about GitHub, Slack, G Suite, Office 365, Salesforce, Workday, you name it. It's all there. One of the key problem areas that we have is that although you might have single sign-on doesn't care about the device. The single sign-on may say, okay, are you authenticated? As long as you're authenticated, anybody can access your SaaS application. SaaS applications, for example, Salesforce could be containing your customer data, right? GitHub could be, your enterprise GitHub could be containing sensitive code. So all of that, it's sometimes exposed in a way that anyone who can authenticate can get access to it. Cloudflare can bring in two additional layers in the SaaS landscape. One is that we could lock things down to only corporate authorized devices, that only these devices should be able to access the SaaS applications. Or we could say, if you're not on an authorized device, you use browser isolation technology. So you could use it from unmanaged devices, but you will not be able to exfiltrate any data. One way or the other, our customers are enforcing SaaS lockdown, meaning their SaaS landscape is no longer open to everybody, that just you can authenticate, you can log in. If a user is targeted with a phishing attack, his credentials are stolen, a hacker won't be able to log in from somewhere else because it's totally locked down to corporate authenticated devices or clientless browser isolation. Essentially, no data goes out of your known perimeter, even though you've expanded to SaaS applications. Now, the most interesting one, safe AI adoption. What we see in most enterprises is that they're either blocking a lot of AI tools. They don't want employees to access these things because the risk, obviously. And in some cases, they allow case-to-case basis. Okay, if somebody needs it, you can allow it. But there is no standard that is followed across the org or across enterprises, because this is a very evolving landscape. If you block everything, you're running into a risk of you maybe inhibiting innovation. You would be prohibiting innovation. Or if you allow too much, and you could be running into risk of data exfiltration and all that, right? What Cloudflare offers as part of our SSE stack is that we sit between your workforce and your AI tools. Now, these could be like ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude. This could be like MCP servers, and we are sitting between them, and we are monitoring what prompts or what data is going back and forth, right? And we can apply acceptable use policies, right? For example, a lot of us do something called DLP, right? You would apply DLP, like let's say if someone is uploading a document or entering text that matches a credit card number or social security number, maybe Aadhaar card, PAN, we do DLP on that. But the thing is, these DLP technology doesn't work very well with AI. Meaning in AI, I could basically say, hey, could you take these 10 credit card numbers, these are base 64 encoded, and do something with it, DLP won't be able to catch it, right? DLP can't catch it because there is no pattern match. However, what we look into is both content and intent. We understand the intent of the prompt. For example, if someone typed, can you help me, hey ChatGPT or hey Gemini, can you help me build a fake document with fake Aadhaar card and PAN card for a loan application? We would detect that prompt based on intent, and we could block prompts like that. Although the traditional DLP will not detect anything because there is nothing worth detecting in that prompt. So it's important when with the advent of AI solutions, the whatever middleware you have, your proxies and SWGs and whatnot, they should be prompt aware and they should be intent aware. That it's not pure DLP. Of course, you need DLP, but in addition, you also need a prompt awareness to be able to know what the intent is and allow a block based on that. Also, for auditing purpose, we allow you to log what was the prompt, what was the response, right? And we, like I said, we classify whether if it's a code abuse or a bypass attempt or PII bypass. So you can apply guardrails and you can apply safe AI adoption in a very simplistic manner. You could start with, for example, just logging, and then eventually you monitor everything, and then you could go into blocking mode. And it's very easy to adopt, easy to use. Now, let me talk about another technology that's very popular. It's called browser isolation. What browser isolation is essentially a sandbox environment in the cloud where you would be accessing web content, but there is complete isolation. Means no execution happens on the endpoint, and the endpoint data doesn't go in or out. So you could prevent execution, you could prevent clipboard, you could prevent upload, download. Essentially, you put the site in a sandbox and the user just views the content, right? And how it works is that there are a couple of use cases, like for example, outbound. So you could say isolate all AI traffic, right? You could run all AI interactions for your employees in an isolated browser with complete sandboxing. Nothing comes in, nothing go out. So you are essentially allowing your users to access it, but you're not risking any data exfiltration. Now this works side by side with our prompt detection and classification that I explained previously, right? It also works inbound, meaning if you want to expose your internal web applications to a third party, you may not want any client or agent to be running there. You could use it for that purpose too. So there is inbound and outbound. And there is one more scenario. A lot of you during the polls have responded that we have adopted as WG solution or ZTNA solution. But the truth remains, those solutions either doesn't have browser isolation or they would be selling it at a very premium cost. Cloudflare, on the other hand, the way we run browser isolation is very different. We run this across all our POPs, okay? So if you're using another solution that could have browser isolation on a single POP or two POPs running in India, our browser isolation runs on all POPs, so it's very high performance. And the good thing is we have a clientless flavor, meaning if you're on an existing proxy, SWG or ZTNA solution, you could still adopt this without changing a lot in your infra. So you could say, for instance, you block all high-risk access in your existing proxy or SWG and send all the high-risk access through browser isolation. And you can do it without deploying any software or agent on the endpoint, 100%. This could be up and running in maybe a day or two, and you don't need to change anything. You don't need to do full rip and replace. You can adopt it alongside, you can adopt it as a standalone. So all things considered, like what does the big picture look like when you converge zero trust and SASE? So in the Cloudflare world, what we do is it's a very simple architecture. We connect your users and endpoints to the applications and the internet. We sit in between, right? We take context like identity, posture, location. When we apply policies, like it could be a zero trust thing, it could be a SWG, it could be DNS, browser isolation, and essentially there are actions. So you could allow something, block something, isolate something that are neither allow nor block. And all your traffic and all of this happens at 335 plus cities in India, in the world, and 14 plus cities in India. So it's extremely high performance by design. So traffic isn't backhauled to a very far away data center where the latency is high, user is complaining. Those things, those problems don't exist with Cloudflare because we're running all of this so close to the user, okay? So you could collapse your extremely complex environment into a very simplistic workflow-based environment, and we integrate with your identity providers, we integrate with your SIEM and SOAR solutions, we can integrate with your EDRs and MDMs. So you don't essentially rip and replace everything. We can talk to those elements and we can work alongside those elements and help you simplify complex architectures into simple workflows. Now, given today's limited time, I've covered only specific areas that we do. But overall, if you look at our security stack or the Zero Trust and SASE stack, these are some things we do. So if you take a holistic look, so of course we do secure access, that is about replacing VPNs and giving access to internal applications. We do DNS security, so recursive DNS with agent, without agent, we can do both. Full-fledged secure web gateway. We also do email security for anti-phishing, browser isolation, which we did speak about, and Magic WAN is our full mesh networking solution that you use IPsec and GRE to connect various sites together into one global mesh. Okay, you can scan this QR code, and it will take you to a site that you can look into how our SASE reference, what our SASE reference architectures look like. Okay. If you have any questions, I'll take them now.
All right, great presentation there, Siddharth. Thanks so much for sharing that with us today. All right, before we move to the audience questions, we've got another quick poll coming up for you. Now, the first one, Tilak was kind enough to give it as an open book test. The second, though, is going to be based on what you can recall from what Tilak had presented from his deck and what Siddharth covered now. That said, launch the second poll, please, poll number 2. Okay. So which of the following is the primary function of firewall for AI? Choose the one that you recall, and then we are going to see what the right answer is.
I think it should be the easiest one of all the polls that we had.
Okay, very straightforward question. All right, can we close the poll and the right answer? Okay, so automatically discovering and labeling LLM endpoints. Thanks so much for that, team. Can we close? Okay, all right. Okay, folks, we still have enough time. Let's dive into the audience questions. And to start with, I'm going to take one that's coming in from Amrish Kumar Singh. I'm going to, post all the questions to Siddharth and Tilak. Either of you can take a stab at it. So Amrish is asking, from an organizational point of view, do you offer complete DNS security as provided by core DNS security tech like Infoblox, etc.?
I'll take that. Thank you for the question. Yes, we do. And unlike the name you mentioned, Infoblox, we don't have on-prem dependencies. It's a fully cloud-native solution. We may deploy some on-prem solutions depending on how you want DNS to be resolved, but out of the box, it's fully cloud-native, easy to deploy, and it also runs in any cast manner with minimal to practically no dependency on on-prem hardware.
All right. Very specific question that's coming in from Palani Vale Swaminathan. So Palani Vale is asking us, what's the minimum number of users with support? And I think that comes as a follow-up question to what he had asked earlier as to what is the minimum number of licenses available.
I'll take that up. You can get support with one user in your company as well, adopting Cloudflare. If you're looking for a specific enterprise level SLA, so there are different SKUs that we need to work through, and there is no minimum number for that. You can get an enterprise account with 10 users, 20 users, or you can go to 10,000 users as well.
Right. Thank you so much for that. Tilak, okay, we've got another one coming here from, there's Anonymous. So the question is, we have already adopted an SSE solution, but we haven't been able to fully utilize the browser isolation capabilities, primarily due to performance issues. How is yours different? So how is the Cloudflare solution different? And is it possible to adopt without full rip and replace of the existing SSE stack?
Yeah, very good question. So we're working with quite a few such customer actually, like the one you put. It's very common, and it's one of the things that I covered in my presentation. The browser isolation is niche technology, but it's very useful technology, right? You could prevent the user frustration of over blocking, like you block everything that's always creates frustration, and you allow everything that creates a risk. Browser isolation is the middle ground, right? You don't block everything, you don't allow everything, you isolate the things that are risky, right? The question is, when you say the gentleman mentioned they've already adopted an SSE solution, what that actually means is they would have installed some agents or endpoints on their all users. And can we work with that? Absolutely 100%, right? We have a client-less flavor of browser isolation, right? You could adopt, it's a cloud-based solution. There is no agent or client required. And the way some of our customers have adopted it alongside other things is that they have blocked all high-risk access. Anything deemed high risk, right, is blocked by their existing SSE, okay? And the user can't simply get there. Instead, they're redirected to our browser isolation solution, where they hit our nearest POP, right? It all happens on the cloud. On the browser, no client required. They do their browsing, close their browser, nothing remains on the system. So the answer is yes, 100%. You could do it. It's a low friction, easy to deploy solution. We don't need full rip and replace. You can start with browser isolation, and you can start, eliminating user frustration, and also adding the security layers of browser isolation in the environment in less than a week's time.
Sounds good. Thank you for answering that, Siddharth. We've got one coming in from Mr. Kumar, who's asking us, is it possible to configure SSL bypass for desktop installed applications and RBI for the same domain of the application for the same user?
Say that again, repeat the last part.
So is it possible to configure SSL bypass for desktop installed application and RBI for the same domain of the application and for the same user?
Okay, I understand the question. If it's the same user, no, the answer is no, because once you bypass the inspection, it doesn't matter whether it's a desktop or a laptop, you bypass the inspection. And in some cases where the applications don't support inspection, you do have to do that bypass. So the simple answer is no, you cannot. All right.
Okay, here's another question that pretty much reflects what we've been talking to CISOs about, and that's the concerns from VPN. So we've got a user, an attendee here asking us, I'm concerned about third-party access. They are using our VPN, which I'm simply not comfortable with, but I cannot replace the
Shomik,
VPN.
I think we lost your audio for a moment. Can you just repeat if you don't mind?
No problem. Are you able to hear me clearly now, Siddharth?
Now, but you glitched just in between for a second, I guess. Just repeat the question so we get it there.
Yeah. So we have this user who's saying, I'm concerned about third-party access. They currently use VPN, which I'm simply not comfortable with, but I cannot replace the VPN at this stage. Do you have any customers using your solutions extensively for third-party access? And if you could share some examples or use cases.
Yes, absolutely. We do have customers who use it. So if you recall, I touched upon in my slide deck as well, we have a client-less flavor of VPN access, right? So most of the organizations these days are going towards web-based applications, right? Most of the applications people access are web-based, okay? And so for that, we don't even need a client or an agent. So your main concern that you don't want the third parties to run your VPN, and that's a valid concern because VPN brings in all that risk. You don't need to, right? We could work with you. We could understand what your application stack is, and then say, okay, let's say you have, how much of it get covered? So all web applications can be covered, okay? Infra access like SSH and RDP, right? Those things can also be covered. So basically, we deploy secure tunnels to your data centers, okay? Users connect through browsers, and we stitch the connection in between, okay? We also provide data exfiltration prevention, meaning you could allow access to an application without letting someone copy, paste, or download anything. It's essentially a read-only thing. You log in, you do what you need to do. Once you close the browser, everything's gone. There is no software to maintain. There is no agents to install. And like I said, this can obviously, since there is no agent installed, you can replace it or you can run alongside it. It simply doesn't matter. So answer is 100% yes. And our customers are using it for various things. So I'll give an example. one of the large NBFCs in India, right? They use this extensively, and their partners and vendors who were earlier connected through VPN or even IPsec tunnels, that was an extremely expensive and complex affair. They've totally gotten rid of it. Okay, and now those partners access your applications through remote browser isolation. Okay, they even access SaaS applications, our NBFC customer SaaS applications, internal applications, RDP, SSH from their offices, right? There is no site-to-site connectivity, no MPLS, no IPsec to manage, and no VPN clients to manage. And that's just one example I'm giving you. We have several such examples here.
All right. Thank you, Siddharth. I mean, that's one common thread we have seen about companies wanting to reduce their VM footprint as well. All right. Now, this question goes out to both Tilak and you again, as solution engineers and as specialists. I just want to get a read on from what you've observed, what are some of those key initiatives that you're seeing around enterprise AI adoption, and what does it mean from a cybersec perspective?
Pretty broader question, Shomik. I'll add that to add up as well, post my answer. The first hindrance, what I see is that in the mindset, enterprises are reluctant to adopt AI just because of the fact that the governance of data is becoming a challenge, and that's where Cloudflare addresses this particular solution. How that data flows into the application, what data flows out is a major security concern or a major concern for these enterprises. And we have predominantly, addressed this particular thing with the majority of the solutions, like what Siddharth spoke about, the SASE space, where we have control what goes into the LLM model in terms of prompt as well. And from the Firewall for AI feature, what I spoke about, we also have something known as AI Gateway that can control the amount of credits that you burn with your LLM application. So these are from a solution perspective, but from a governance perspective, I feel that the market is slowly shaping up and people are adopting more than enterprises. I think in the startups market where they're adopting it pretty spontaneously.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, another question that I have. Yeah, Siddharth, you want to say something?
Just I want to add something. Thanks, Tilak, for the answer. So if you look at from a very high level, right? So we classify these things like what are enterprises or companies doing with AI, right? There are three things, and we actually, as a Cloudflare, we contribute in all three places, right? So there is something called building with AI. They're trying to build chatbots, internal applications, public-facing applications with AI into it, right? So you need to build those first before you publish it on the internet, right? So we have solutions for Cloudflare in Cloudflare called Cloudflare Developer Platform. You could deploy code in serverless platforms, and you have databases. So we help you actually starting from building those applications, right? And that's the build time, right? And then you actually run it. That's the runtime. When you're running it, then like Tilak had explained, our Firewall for AI, AI Gateway, WAF API, those things come into the picture. So there is a build time. We enable you build on Cloudflare. We enable you to host on Cloudflare. And the last part is the outbound pieces, that when your employees are accessing ChatGPT, how to secure it, which I have covered through browser isolation and prompt control. So there are three areas: building with AI, securing the applications you build, and securing your employees' access to AI. And we are playing in all three fields.
I think a great point there, especially considering last year's incident in which Samsung got compromised or suffered a data breach when one of their employees copied and pasted information on a ChatGPT window. So yeah, very much possible and pretty much a need of the hour. Another thing that's coming out as a need of the hour right now is this entire conversation. A lot of them are actually worried about harvest now, decrypt later attacks. What's Cloudflare's approach to post-quantum cryptography? We don't know when that's going to be happening, but then we know it's around the corner. How are you gearing up for it?
Tilak, you're on mute.
Yeah.
Yeah. So before getting into this, how we are adopting it, it's essential for people to understand that your laptop, the device that you are using today, might not be having compatibility with your quantum systems or quantum chips. It's post-quantum cryptography is about the certificate exchange, how the communication takes place. It's not what is running on your laptop or what is running in the servers. It is about the medium of communication, the data in transit. So Cloudflare, as of now today, to shortly put, is end-to-end post-quantum cryptographic compliant, and we have of course implemented the ML signatures. You can just right-click and check it on the developer tools, any website running on Cloudflare as well. I am more than happy to have a deeper conversation, considering the time limit of this particular webinar, because this takes up around 1 hour. How we have implemented it, what goes in this place. Maybe you can put your email IDs for a deeper conversation on this one.
Sure, you can do that. And thank you again, audience, for sharing those wonderful questions. Keep them coming. We've got another one here. Now, if I would ask you, as a parting question, what would be that one architectural shift that you believe organizations must make to stay ahead, not just, of the current threats, but also the next generation of attacks, the AI-powered attacks, quantum-based attacks? Tilak, I'll go with you first.
Okay.
What are your 2 cents?
What I will say is that don't think of security or adoption as a siloed subject. It's more of a consolidation approach that we should be thinking of, like a compostable architecture. Eliminate point solutions. Have an architecture where all things sit together. You have a visibility to it. You can correlate the events occurring at different nodes, and that gives you speed of adoption, the velocity for your business.
Okay, Siddharth, what would be your 2 takeaways for our viewers there?
Yeah, so I would also vouch on that. For example, the platform approach, you may hear it as a cliched term now, everyone's in platform approach, but like it or hate it, cliched or not, that's the way forward. Okay. You cannot have data in 50 different systems and hope to be compliant one day. That's not going to happen. Okay. And second, you have to think about new gen threats in terms of how artificial intelligence is going to shape those threats, right? Thinking about defenses isn't enough. You need to also have that hacker mindset, that attacker mindset. You should say, okay, if I want to breach, if someone wanted to breach me, traditional, what happens if he uses an AI tool to run a vulnerability check or something on me? So you have to be prepared for Gen AI attacks. Legacy OWASP top 10 alone isn't going to help you. You're going to have to look beyond that. So that would be my 2 takeaways.
All right, I think great points there. OWASP top 10 has been brilliant, and I think we have been using that as a crutch for far too long. All right, folks, so with that, we come to the end of today's webinar. Thank you again for this great conversation we've had with you, Siddharth and Tilak. And thank you again, audience, for sharing those great questions with us and for tuning in. Do stay tuned. Have a look at the website. In our webinar section, you're going to find a recording of this webinar in about a week's time. And do feel free. You can reach out to Tilak and Siddharth if you have any specific questions around implementation. I'm sure they'd be happy to help. This is Shomik Ghosh signing off on behalf of ETCISO. You guys have a great day ahead.